We're back. And we are back and we are live. And I have a special royal treat for you today. You know, I love to travel, and that's my passion. Well, as you can see behind me there, we're going to bring Sara on, who is Emboldened Adventures, but she's a travel storyteller. She's been to lots of different countries. She knows travel tips. And I mean, this girl knows things that I want to know. So let me give her a proper introduction, Royals, to let you know what you're in for, okay? Because this is something you do not want to miss, I'm telling you. And think about it. She's going to share some intriguing snippets from her journeys, and she's going to make you wonder what it's like to leave a 20 plus year career in the bustling New York City to travel the world. So join us as Sara shares her incredible journey of self-discovery and adventure. Like I say, you don't want to miss this inspiring episode, okay? So let me tell you a little bit about Sara. She's the founder of the award-winning travel inspiration site, Embolden Adventures. She's a world traveler, spiritually transforming international speakers around the world, a travel storyteller, and an author. In this episode, Sara shares her incredible journey of self-discovery and spiritual awakening that spans over 15 years and through 42 different countries. Discover how she transitioned from her heart over her engineering brain. You can learn about her adventures from the depths of the oceans to the heights of the mountains. And they have not only broadened her horizons, but empowered her to connect deeply with the natural world. You know me, I love nature. So let's tune in and hear a little bit more about her memoir that's coming out in 2025. And you'll be inspired to embark on your own emboldened adventures. Welcome, Sara. Thank you for joining me today.
My pleasure. That's just one introduction. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to find out what I have to say too.
First, just, I gave a little highlights about your story. Tell us a little bit about who you were and how you came to work in New York City, and then how you decided to leave that beautiful, bustling, energetic city to go, and roam out in the parks, and, seek some inside growth, I guess.
Oh yeah, this has been quite a story for a long time coming. For a number of years now, over 20 years, I've worked in the hustle bustle, fast pace of New York City, whether it was in investment banking on Wall Street or in private equity or in the renewable energy industry or in government and consulting. It's been quite a slog and quite intense. And so, yeah, a lot of balancing that intensity because, your personal life comes second in this sort of experience that is, the most A-type personality, that's most competitive. And so the balance of kind of that and energy, I discovered my love of travel. So I've been traveling the world for a number of years now, alongside this progression of the career that I just walked away from in 2022. So my saving grace, my savior, my kind of balancing of the energies really was my discovering of scuba diving. And then from there, I got to see the world because it was my escape from the world that was just so, I don't even know. I can't even think of the word. It's like it just got to me, it made me hit a breaking point where I had to just walk away at one point, as I mentioned, in 2022. So we could talk about that. That's the basis of the trilogy that I'll be writing, my memoir to be coming out in 2025.
Well, you have a quote, right?
Quote is be emboldened. Embolden Adventures is the travel inspiration content site I started in 2016. Actually, it was a period of time where I had lost my job. I was in between jobs. It was a 2.5-year period of unemployment. In that 20-year career that I just mentioned, I had lost my job 3 times and had been out of work for a long period of time. Yeah, so the more I was in these sort of situations, the more I delved into more of my spiritual discoveries, and a lot had to do with traveling the world and seeing these, megalithic ancient places and going scuba diving, as I mentioned. So Embolden Adventures was formed. It was my creative outlet to kind of get me through the darker doldrums of unemployment and, holding down, my mortgage in Manhattan and really struggling and trying to get, that next job that I ultimately landed in 2017. So Emboldened is the tagline, because I want to encourage people to see the world, to be courageous, to get out there. And embolden is just such a great word. It's getting you to like find the courage and the curiosity and the will within yourself to want to get out there and go beyond your comfort zone.
Well, Sara, we have kindred spirits because my background's in finance. I was in investment banking too. And when I first started out with investment banking, the 60 to 80 hour work weeks didn't really bother me because I'm young, I'm energetic. And, in every March, you got these huge, bonuses that sometimes were more than your actual salary. So, you worked hard because you knew you was going to get rewarded. But you get burnt out. And I like my weekends because I'm like you. I want to travel. I want to be out in nature. And I found out that was not for me. That hustle and bustle, it was fine for a while, but it just didn't suit me. We all have to go out there and venture out, as you call it, be emboldened to find out who you are. And sometimes it takes hard knocks. Like, unfortunately, you did lose your job 3 times, but if you hadn't, do you think you'd have wound up in this spot now?
I think I would have found my way one way or the other, because hitting that brick wall in 2022 was my choice to leave, whereas the other examples were not my choice. It was when the rug got pulled out from under me in a very surprising way and in an unexpected way. And so in this case, I finally decided enough is enough. So I think it would have found me one way or the other. Divine timing works wonders. And when things are meant to be, as they say, and what I'm learning every day, then they're meant to be. In my case, it's, I think, a traveler and a storyteller.
Well, I like the storytelling part, and I love the traveling even more because travel is my passion. And I've published a couple of my travel books to help people to travel more. I call it gallivanting like a royal because you can, but you don't have to break the bank to do it. There's what I call smart traveling. And if you planning is everything. You can get deals. And like you say, you've been to what? 60 countries, 40 countries is a big
over 40.
Yeah. So, and I'm sure you didn't break the bank doing it. You found economical, fun ways to get you where you wanted to go, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And the more you travel outside the United States, that's actually tip number one. When you compare and contrast, let's say a trip to Florida, for instance, compared to, let's say, Southeast Asia, the big kind of difference is the plane fare. Everything else is really affordable if you really kind of play it that way, not the kind of 5-star hotel example in Singapore, for instance. But yeah, like I think we were in Myanmar for $25 a day. And I think our inter-country flight was $50 airfare for us to fly around from Yangon to other parts of the country. So yeah, and obviously, when you're in Florida or Vegas or places in the United States, there's so many additional fees that are tacked on traveling, like a resort fee, for instance, and Wi-Fi and this and that and parking. And next thing you know, it's, my goodness, it's so much more expensive. The rental car, even the hotel itself, it adds up. Yeah. So that's secret number one, is get out of the United States for so many wonderful reasons.
Exactly. And I say secret number 2 is get you a credit card that rewards you in either money, miles, or points where you can travel the world. But with that credit card comes financial responsibility. You got to pay it off each month. So like me, I charge everything I possibly can, my utilities, all my expenses that can go on that card. I do that. In the month, I pay it off. But then again, look at all the points I've accumulated to fly business class because, hey, flying across that pond, I want me to lie down flat seats. Coming back, they can put me back in, in the coach. I don't care. But going across the pond till I'm going on vacay, I want to get there rested, ready to hit the ground running.
I've flown to Africa for free on credit card points. When we climbed Kilimanjaro in Tanzania, my flight was free. because of credit card points. That
See?
is another big secret. Yeah, I use the Chase Reserve. I think it's preferred sapphire reserve. So I take the higher kind of version of the preferred sapphire, which is reserve. Which the annual fees are expensive, but they cut back. I think of the $450 a year, $350, which is travel credits. So you'll pay it, but then you get it back in spending on, let's say, gas or anything that's travel related. And that credit card is worth its weight in gold. And I'm not I'm not sponsored by them, but I swear by them because I book flights through their program, and I also can use them. And let's say overseas, and I don't have to convert my money because the rate's the best rate, and I'm not paying extra fees for conversion as well. So everything is working with this card. It is another big secret of mine. I think right now I have about 180,000 points because if I use my credit card in my everyday purchases, and you're right, you have to pay it off 100%. Don't let it lapse so you're paying extra APR charges. But if you pay it off, you use your card, sometimes you're getting double points, like in certain verticals of what your spending buckets are in, which is why I have so many points, 180,000 points in this case, which I could easily book another flight to Africa if I wanted to. For free.
Smart traveling. That's what we got to do. Be smart with it. Okay, Sara, tell us a little bit about your journey. Like I said, you've been to over 40 countries. What I guess would be the most memorable one you had, and why? Why did it touch your heart? Why did it call your spirit so much to make that lasting impression? Because I know you're going to say all of them were great, because that's what I say. But there's always that one that really, for some reason, just sticks in your mind and just kind of like, okay, that's the one.
Well, you're right. The answer is all of them. But although there's some I wasn't a big fan of. The book I'm writing currently, the part 1 of the trilogy that's going to be coming out, it showcases my 5-week adventure across 3 different countries, from Morocco to the Amazon rainforest in Peru, and then onward to Bolivia. And I'll say that it's kind of a tie between the Amazon rainforest in Peru and also in Bolivia. So Bolivia, if you could imagine where we went, La Paz is its capital in South America. It's the highest capital in elevation you'll find around the world. I think it's roughly like 15,000 feet in elevation. So it's kind of nestled in these like Andes mountains, snow-capped mountains. And where we went, we drove from Peru, Cusco, and through down to Lake Titicaca and the Peruvian side. And we got to see, these beautiful communities, the floating islands of Uros, people that live on islands made of reeds from the lake, and then these beautiful people in Taquile Island that their kind of generation goes as far back as when the Spanish came in the 1500s. Then once you cross over in the Bolivian side of Lake Titicaca, there's this ancient mystical place called Tiwanaku Pumapuku, which are these megalithic stone structures featured in the TV show Ancient Aliens. I'm a big fan of Ancient Aliens, and I like to plan a lot of my trips around some of the places featured on the show. And these rocks are cut with precision, like laser cut, and it's just these intricate cuts are so inexplicable. Nobody knows how they really did it. So we did that, and then onwards to the Altiplano. We went to this area called Uyuni, which again, cheap flight in Bolivia. We flew up from La Paz to Uyuni, 45-minute flight, and that's where you'll see the trains, these old rusted trains in this train cemetery. Way back when they thought these trains could, be useful in this high altitude, and then they realized it rusted. These were steam trains that just didn't perform properly. And so now you have these old rusted trains from like the 1800s, and you have the background of a sky that's so dark and so many stars. So it's a photographer's dream. And then the best part is the salt flats of Uyuni, which you look like you're in heaven. It just reflects the white salt plain that has a little bit of sheen from the water, and then the blue sky with the clouds. It's like heaven. And then lastly, we went out to this reserve where the flamingos live. It was the most beautiful place I've ever seen in my life. So all that's being chronicled in this book that I will be coming in 2025 of my 5-week adventure.
Well, I see why you're a travel storyteller, because you just made this just come alive to me. It's like, oh, I got to go and experience this now. Because
There
I
are less than 60,000 travelers that go to Uyuni, and mainly they're from Korea and Japan. So when you're there in this vast area, you feel like you're by yourself. It's definitely worth the trip down to South America for sure.
well, it's definitely on my bucket list now, Sarah. I'm telling you. So tell us a little bit more about you and your spiritual awakening. I mean, you touched on it earlier in your intro, but tell us a little bit more. Um, I guess what pulled at your heartstrings or what set your mind off. What was that process like for you?
It's still ongoing. It's something that every time I've lost my job, that spiritual kind of discovery grows a lot, very accelerated pace. And it's not, a true religious sort of slant where I'm, in church and I'm doing a Bible study, for instance. It's more mystical. And that's partly why I
Mhm.
think I'm very attracted to these megalithic, inexplicable sites, that are featured on these shows. How they build the pyramids, kind of thing. What
Right.
was that ancient civilization? What were the secrets they knew? And so a lot of that for me is this awakening happening where I'm working a lot with wisdom keepers
Hmm.
and priestesses and even nature herself, learning from the wolves when I go out west and learning from the mountain spirit and the like, the power of the ocean. But really, how it I think started, I don't even know when like day one was, but as a kid, I was very interested in like tarot cards and psychics and things like that. And even though I grew up being an engineer and a logic person, science oriented, prove it to me or else it doesn't exist, sort of, upbringing, right, in the education system. This is the opposite of that. It's how do I
Hmm.
trust within? How do I have discernment and know that my internal kind of compass has the wisdom more so than scientific proof in some examples? So that's sort of how it started, and eventually I became attracted to like past life regression sessions and learning how I had ESP. I could like see visions sometimes. My third eye was opened by Teresa Computo's teacher, Pat Longo, the Long Island medium. So I go all into that in my book about the background, but I find myself traveling to these mystical places like Machu Picchu, for instance, in Peru and elsewhere, and feeling really just intrigued. What do they know? And that's kind of what that awakening had been when I went to the rainforest. I was called to the rainforest
Yes.
in Peru, as I mentioned. I had dared the universe in late 2019 when I was working downtown on Wall Street. And the universe listened, and I didn't realize how powerful my words were. I got laid off unexpectedly. I didn't think it was going to happen, and it did within a week of me challenging, because what had happened was my friend had invited me to do uh, ayahuasca ceremonies, which is a very strong psychedelic in the Amazon rainforest. And at the time, I didn't think I could do it because I was already going to Morocco with a bachelorette party in early 2020. So that's why I became a 5-week adventure, because I got let go. And the way that it worked out was seamless, what the date she chose. And I literally got off the plane from Morocco and got back on a plane to go to, the Amazon rainforest. It was seamless. And then once I was there, I worked with the Shibibo shamans for 7 ceremonies, which was pretty intense. And I never had touched the psychedelic. So that was the big kind of aha, the grand finale in some ways that really
Yes.
got me elevated. And then onwards to, where I am today. I've been continuing to explore this through travel and wisdom keepers and nature.
Well, you know what? I think when we get out of our comfort zone, that we get downloads, we get answers that we've been looking for and searching for. But when we're in our normal everyday path, it's like the energy fields are blocked or that information cannot get through to us. And I have a quote that says, traveling opens doors that you didn't know needed opening. And you just kind of talked about that because if you don't travel, you don't know what your purpose is. You may think you do, but till you travel, get out of your comfort zone, even go somewhere you can't speak their language, and just being immersed in a different culture, like you said, changes you. You see things, you're like, wow, that was done 500 years ago. They didn't have all the equipment we have now. And look, they can't even build a building that's even half as good as that one, you know?
100%. It just opens your mind. It opens your
Yeah.
horizons. It makes you think, and it makes you consider things beyond your purview, right? Like, just even we talked about religion. I mean, go to, let's say, Japan and going
Yeah.
into the Buddhist temples, and you're like, this is amazing. And then you start to see similarities in some ways. Even when in the Middle East, I've been to many mosques around the countries in the Middle East, and it's just so beautiful. Their patterns. That's what the connection I was making in this book is the patterns in Morocco, the patterns through the psychedelic work in the Amazon, the patterns in this mysterious Tiwanaku and Pumapuku. It's all interconnected. And that's the big kind of like, whoa, man, you don't see that on CNN.
No, no, no. And since you
It makes
mentioned,
you trust, though. If I can say one more thing, it makes you trust
yes,
yourself more, as I mentioned earlier, because what the TV shows you, the news in this case, it's not what's out there. You'll see
mm-mm.
something, they'll scare you. Oh my God, I'm so worried. That country's awful. And then you get there and you're like, it's completely different from what they showed. These people are nice, like it's safe. I don't know what they were talking about. So that's the thing. When you finally like test the limits and say, I'm going to see for myself, whether it's nearby or far, you see a
Yeah.
different perspective.
And on that note, it's time to take a commercial break, and I'm going to show some of my travels that I curated for you. So just stay tuned. Hello, Royals. Duchess DJ Love here. Gallivanting like a roll. I hope y'all
That's
enjoyed that.
amazing.
You see, I love the travel. So now, since I'm doing my podcasting, I've learned how to do content. I can't talk content creation, which I love. I can sit up for wee hours in the morning and just create videos from my photos, and I just love it. So, I'm proud of them. So I like to show them off. And if you're just tuning in, you may be wondering, who is this Duchess DJ Love person? And what is it about her and her love for travel? Well, guess what? I got a commercial on that one too. So here we go. Who is Duchess DJ Love? Duchess DJ Love is not only a travel aficionado, but also a savvy financial expert. Through her blog, Gallivanting Like a Royal, and her podcasts, she shares invaluable insights on wealth mindset and financial empowerment. Duchess DJ Love's practical advice and strategies help her audience navigate the complexities of money management with confidence and ease. Her dedication to financial literacy is evident in her engaging content, where she breaks down complex financial concepts into easy-to-understand tips. Whether it's budgeting for a luxurious getaway or investing wisely, Duchess DJ Love's guidance ensures her followers are well-equipped to achieve their financial goals. With the grace and warmth of a true Southern belle, Duchess DJ Love inspires her audience to not only explore the world, but also to build a secure and prosperous future. And I want you to hit that subscribe button to stay tuned for more. And I also have a QR code so you can subscribe to my blog, gallivantinglikearoyal.com, where I post my stories, give my travel tips, let you know what's coming up on my two podcasts. Duchess DJ Love has her own podcast now, where I call it my educational channel, my how-to channel, where I will teach you how to travel more, worry less, how to have more money in your pockets. Also, if you're a small business person and you need to know this social media marketing, this digital creation stuff, I got you covered. I'll show you entrepreneur tips, passive income. There's so much that I can put on that how to do channel, that's where that one's at. Now, Gallivanting Like a Royal is where I showcase all my travel because I love to travel. I love the photos I take. So you're going to have to look at them because I'm going to make you watch them. So here's your QR code so you can go scan it and follow me. Subscribe now. Okay, we're back to Sara now. Sara, what did you think of my content creations?
I think you did a great job. I'm like, ooh, there's some tips I can borrow from you. Very cool. I think
Yes.
some of the pictures you saw, I'm like, yes, love that. I love that. I definitely got a peek of downtown Brooklyn as well. That little
Yes.
bridge. And it looks like you had a really awesome road trip along, the California coast. So that's pretty
I
awesome.
do. My mom has dementia. So for those that follow me know that Lady Lexi has dementia. So we take a lot of road trips, but she's a frequent flyer. We fly the Friendly Skies monthly. So I'm executive platinum with my preferred airline. So that lets you know I fly those skies a lot. So there's always tips and tricks and things that I learn and hacks that I share. And Sara, I'm sure you have some stories that maybe you encountered on some of these countries that were not planned, but something happened and you had to think fast and have to figure out how I'm going to get out of this scenario.
Oh man, there's a lot. I mean, that's the thing. I love to plan. I'm a very good planner, but you have to leave room for the unknown and
Yes.
some flexibility, right? So it's kind of like a little bit of both. But yeah, the first thing that immediately popped into my head was, we were in Australia and we live aboard dive boat for 3 days. It was a sailboat, and it was a bit of a hostel. It was a hostel, floating hostel. And, we came with all of bags because we were kind of en route around the country of Australia. And so we showed up to this live aboard hostel, and they're like, you're not allowed to bring your luggage on board. And we're like, why? We have our scuba gear, we have like all this stuff, like check bags, like it's a lot. We can't even hold it. And they said, well, we don't know zippers on the boat, and your bag has zippers. And we're like, oh no, why? And they're like, bed bugs. And they're like ready to depart. And we're like, oh no, what are we going to do? So we had to like run. They were not helpful at all. I was very mad about that. A little bit of my New York out. And I was just like, you should have told us. We had
Yes.
to run with our stuff, with the heavy bags, and find some locker where we checked in and throw everything in the locker and like put things in plastic bags and like run back to the boat right before it was about to like depart. It was, to this day, I'm still mad about that because that's lack of communication and faultiness on their part. But yeah, like it was so unexpected because who'd have thought that zippers
Yeah.
carry bed bugs? Yeah, so but then again, that whole 3-day trip, it was like a Gilligan's Island experience because the sail ripped halfway through in the Coral Sea. So we had a ripped sail. The boat was like, tipping because it was like bad, high seas, and people were
Yeah.
throwing up everywhere, and there was no more water and no more food. It was just a disaster, and we should have known that was the beginning of like a really terrible 3-day tour.
But think about it. When you take a vacation, you go somewhere, you don't expect that to happen. You don't plan for it. So, that's what I tell people. You have to plan for the unexpected. What are you going to do? And you
In
need
our
medical
case, we try to roll
insurance.
with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing, you need travel insurance or some sort of insurance that when you somewhere else, if you get sick, that they can get you home. That's the main reason why I have the travel insurance. I can live with me if I miss my hotel, that little thing, but it's the medical part. Like I said, people were getting sick. I mean, they didn't eat. What if they had a medical condition where they had to have food? I mean, that can throw their whole bodies out of whack.
Oh yeah, that dive boat, that was a disaster and a half. We did a night dive in the Coral Sea and lost one person. We couldn't find them in the night. Like it was a disaster. Like thankfully my friend and I were rescue divers, and we kind of stepped up, and I know that the dive master was the best, so we kind of had to step up. But we did find this diver eventually. He got on a different boat. And then we were able to get him back on our boat. But there was a minute of like, oh no, we lost somebody.
Yeah.
And we just left without them. Again, the whole thing was just marred in problems. And I'm so happy I got back home. We kissed the ground when we got back to shore. Like, thank God. What a disaster.
Well, can you give the audience some travel tips? Like I said, you've been to lots of countries. Let's just say we have someone that's never been out of their home country, that they're going to international. What kind of tips would you tell them? Because you're experienced traveler now, and they look to us for guidance because like, oh, she's done it, she knows. So what would you tell some people that here's what you need to know if you're traveling abroad for the first time?
Oh, there's so many things you need to
Well, let's
know.
hear them.
First of all, your passport. Do you have a passport? And if not, get one. Your passport should not be expiring in a 6-month window. And once you leave, because you will not be let back in, they may not allow you back. Like, for example, when we went to Tanzania, we had to get a visa to enter the country, and they wouldn't issue it. Actually, that's another thing about the passport. I didn't have enough pages in the passport that I had, so I had to get a new one before they issued the visa. Stick it like a sticker onto my passport. So, you need to be mindful. Well, I guess in the case of a new travel, passport will be squeaky clean, brand new. But yeah, like make sure your passport's up to date and it has enough pages. And check, with the State Department. If the country you're to doesn't have any sort of like high risk, just be careful, like the areas you might be going to. Like, for example, I was in Guatemala earlier this year, and Guatemala is known for being kind of unsafe country. And what I did was I just checked the specific areas where the State Department deemed high risk, and it turns out there weren't that many. And so there's like a certain spot of Guatemala City that was kind of to be careful, just like anywhere, right? New York, Boston, Chicago, St. Louis, LA. So yeah, like be mindful. Don't go that way. Don't put your hotel there. Make sure you get a taxi that you can trust. Things of that nature. But yeah, I think generally though, I think the big tip if you want to travel abroad for the first time, ask yourself, what are your trigger points? Mm-hmm. What are your trigger points? Because I've learned this the hard way sometimes. If you travel with friends, sometimes you realize certain friends don't like to travel the way you like to travel. And I'm an adventure traveler, so I don't like the amenities, the luxuries. I always want to keep go. And so, if you're tired and you get, triggered easily, maybe you should think about a more kind of easier kind of trip where you're not, go. If the heat gets to you, you want to think about going to a place that isn't so hot. If you want to go with a group where there's a guided tour instead of you kind of being on your own the minute you get off the airplane, I would presume a newbie would want that to kind of segue in. But just think about what would trigger you, make you unhappy, make you irritable, right? The plane's going to make you tired. The jet lag's going to make you tired. The food's going to make you tired because it's different. Not drinking enough water might make you tired. Just being out of your comfort zone and not sleeping well in a comfortable hotel that, for you might be better. For others, a hammock. I'm happy with a hammock, So it depends on, how your comforts are and what you're willing to kind of push a little bit. Don't overdo it, but kind of push your limits and see kind of what you could, put up with and what you're willing to kind of change up and, what's your day-to-day kind of creature feature. And if you're willing to try something a little different, it's a mindset that you have to kind of prepare yourself for, because it's once you're out there, you can't turn back unless you have to make big plans to get a new flight back home.
And I would suggest that you take half of what you pack out and take twice the amount of the money that you had planned on. You can always bring the money back with you, but you don't want to be lugging those heavy suitcases around. If you're over in Europe and some of these other places, it's not like a flat, smooth walking surface. You're going to be rocky, bumpy, dirt. I mean, so, you're trying to lug all this stuff, and then everybody knows you're a tourist then. Got to watch out for those pickpockets. They're like, oh yeah, I'm going to get that one over there.
Yeah, that's another thing. I mean, as a New Yorker, you always have eyes behind your head, and you kind of have street smarts too. But I remember being in Brazil with a bunch of Australians, and we were in Rio, and there's parts of Rio that are really dangerous. And I mentioned earlier, there's places I don't like. Brazil, the country, is one of them. I don't know if I'd ever go back. If I had to, I may want to think twice. Iguazu Falls was really nice, but otherwise I didn't feel safe in Brazil, Sao Paulo or Rio. And rightfully so, because there are a lot of pickpockets and there are a lot of, people walking around looking to target tourists. And I remember we were getting off the tour bus, And my Australian friends, were not city folk. They kind of were like, oh, wow, look amazing. And their cameras hanging off them and their bags are all over the place. And I immediately noticed the guys coming and trying to circle
Mhm.
the bus. And I, the New Yorker that I am, like, come on, like, toughen up. I see them, I hold my stuff close. None of this shit, none of this crap, get away from us. But they were a little oblivious to it. So I think street smarts matter. Just assume you're going to get robbed and think about how you're going to prevent yourself from that happening. A wallet across your bag, maybe
Yes.
a fanny pack that you hide underneath your
Your
shirt.
clothes.
Different sort of things. Don't let your backpack hang out. Maybe wear the backpack in front of you with the zipper, with your eyes on it. Wear comfortable shoes, right? In our case, where we had to run with our suitcases because we couldn't bring zippers, thank God we
Exactly.
weren't wearing high heels. We had like
Yeah.
sneakers. We could actually like get going and hurry up, So things like that to kind of keep you on guard. A hat, maybe. Also, keep your eyes on the sun. There's lots of little tips that are important for travel.
I like those little tips because, people need those. They need to kind of know what to prepare for because a lot of people are just, I don't want to say you're clueless out there, Royals, but sometimes you just don't use that brain that you got, okay? So you got to get a little bit smarter, Just take a little small carry-on bag and a small bag, just take the basics. Most places have a laundromat so you can wash and change, so you don't need to lug the whole kitchen sink with you, okay?
Yeah, like wick clothing like this, right? Like easy
Yes.
dry like this. Like I would wear this on a vacation, on
Yeah,
an
me
adventure.
too. That
Yeah.
way, you covered, and like I say, if you sweat, you can wash it easily and it dries quickly. You got to pack lightweight stuff. And like you said something earlier, pace yourself. Don't overschedule yourself with things to do. You got to plan because a lot of places now you have to pay in advance or buy your tickets online to get that QR code to get into entrances. So you kind of have to plan some.
Yeah, like in our case when we were in Japan, we actually had a deal because we bought our JR Rail Pass ahead of time. So what Japan
Mhm.
does, the tourist, I guess, bureau, whatever they are, if you're coming in from out of the country, you buy your JR Rail Pass. And you can get on any train in Japan that's on the JR rail system, including the bullet train to Kyoto, for free. You just have to show the pass. And the pass is expensive, but if you add up the amount of travel you're doing in Japan to see all the
Yes.
different sites, it pays for itself. So it's affordable. You got it in advance and you use it immediately when you get off the plane and you get to Tokyo.
Yeah, I love the international travel because most places have what I call efficient public transportation where you can get to point A easy. I mean, it's not like here in the States. I mean, you can easily get around there and it's inexpensive. Like I say, it just takes a little bit of planning, hey, you got to plan for these things.
Yeah, and if you want to travel by go-kart in Japan, which they allow you to do on the streets, you could dress up in Mario outfits like Mario Kart. You'll need in advance your AAA international driver's license, which is I think
Right.
about $20. But you go there, any AAA, and you say, "Hey, here's my driver's license. That's the United States version. Give me, please, the international." It's like a little bit of a white paper kind of stapled,
Yeah.
and you can now rent a car and you can go karting in Japan, but they won't accept your American license. It's not something that they deem as valid in their eyes. So buyer beware.
Yeah, that's where you have to go and get the international driver's license, correct?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
a
the
lot of people
AAA.
don't know they need that in advance. They just think, "Oh, I got a driver's license, that's going to work." No, it doesn't work that way.
It depends on the country. I know Japan was a stickler. They're like the United States and Switzerland, we don't allow rental cars if you have your driver's license from that country. But if you have the AAA international one, you're good.
Yes. Yes. I recommend AAA for sure. Okay, we're going to take another break because I hope, folks, that you're watching this and you're thinking, wow, she gives good tips. And, I have a business I would like maybe to promote on her business somehow. You can advertise with me. I make it affordable. I got a special right now, $100 for a month to advertise on my two blogs. I mean, my blog and two podcasts, and I'll throw you some free publicity on my social media. And just to let you know, I have an audience of over 100,000. So my reach is even broader than that. So, you're getting a lot for that $100 a month. You get some name recognition out there, and it's called royal recognition. So check this out.
You need to watch this if you want to boost your brand with a touch of royalty. Exposing the secret to brand success with Duchess DJ Love. Imagine your brand front and center in the vibrant world of travel enthusiasts, entrepreneurs, and personal development seekers. Duchess DJ Love's audience is diverse and engaged, always ready to interact and share. Her podcast, Gallivanting Like a Royal, dives into everything from travel tips to wealth-building strategies. Perfect for brands aiming to inspire and inform. With 5 books and coaching sessions under her belt, Duchess DJ Love offers insights that resonate. Her strong social media game on Facebook, YouTube, and her Wanderlust and Wealth Wisdom blog means your brand gets seen and remembered. Partnering with Duchess DJ Love means aligning with empowerment, resilience, and authenticity. And her advocacy for dementia awareness. It adds a layer of social responsibility that today's consumers love, ready for tailored campaigns. Duchess DJ Love crafts creative strategies, leveraging her multi-channel presence to amplify your brand. Boost your brand with Duchess DJ Love and start gallivanting like a royal today.
Okay, Royals, that lets you know that we're in the last 15 minutes of the podcast. So as you know, that's your clue. So Sara, going to give you an opportunity to kind of share your final thoughts. If you have a special message that you would like to get out to the audience, this is your time to get it to them. They're paying attention. They know now this time is where they watch and get all the good stuff.
Well, Duchess, it's really a pleasure to be here, and I thank you for the time. And I always love talking about travel. I think you and I could continue talking for another 4 hours on anything that comes to mind. Love it so much. So yeah, emboldenadventures.com. Visit me on the website. Follow me on social media, and stay tuned for my book coming out in 2025. So I finished writing it, my first of the trilogy series. The first part is the Surrender, Awaken Radiate piece. The second part is Surrender and Adventure. The third part is Transform and Reborn, which is a 100% true story I've gone through since 2019 until today. And so that book comes out in 2025. So if you subscribe, and you'll be the first to know when it'll be released. And I'm excited about it. It's a great book, and it's editing right now. So stay tuned for more.
I love it. And by chance, do you give tours for people? Do you, are you taking any, like a small group maybe somewhere or another? Or have you thought of that?
It's in the works. It's something I've been thinking about for a while. I'm kind of building this Embolden Adventures brand from what was just a blog and a way to kind of communicate my travels around the world to something more. So I've been bringing my team together and seeing what we can do here. But beyond just the tour piece, I'm a storyteller. So it's writing, it's public speaking, it's other sort of mediums, and to communicate the love of travel and to get people to see the world. So there's more to come, but the book is my number one priority.
Well, when that book comes out, I want to have you back on, and I want you to tell more about it and show it off and say, hey, here's where you can get it at, and here's how much it's going to cost you, or go to your website. You're just going to get a chance to advertise and tell us more about your adventures, because this is exciting.
Thank you, Duchess. I'm excited too.
Bye-bye. Give you the royal wave. Thank you for joining me. Okay, Royals. Thank you for watching this episode. As you know, travel is very dear to my heart. It's my number one passion, other than having some money to go. You know, I like to make some money too. And you know, I like showing off, you know, my content creation. And I'm going to tell you, hit that subscribe button. Yes, if you're not following me, hit that follow button. You know, you got to stay in tune and hang with the Duchess here. But I got a few more closing clips for you. We're just going to run through them real quick, okay? Here we go. Oh, the other Duchess from a prior time wants to talk to you a little bit. So let you hear what she has to say. Hello, Royals. It's Duchess DJ Love, host of Gallivanting Like a Royal. How are you this evening? Hope you're doing well, and thank you for watching. No matter if you're listening on the podcast or you watching live stream or you catch me on the replay. Thank you. I appreciate you joining this evening. We're going to talk about wealth, real estate, and show some travel inspiration. As you know, I love my digital creations that I come up from my travels to show you some of the beautiful places that I've seen, give you some travel tips, you know, and just, I don't know, lighten up the mood a little bit. You know, we hear enough negative things. We got to hear some positive things. So again, thank you for watching. And since we're talking about wealth, I must show off my book, The Art of Wealth. This is one of my new ones. This one here gives you details into investments, strategies, how to make money, what money is, pretty much money literacy to get you educated on money. I have another book. I don't have the cover of it. I don't have it with me yet. It must be a special one because it took a little while to get shipped to me. But it's called Money Mindset, Millionaire Mindset, with quotes and inspiration to spark you to save, to invest, to do the proper strategies to have some money. Change your mindset a little bit, the way you think about things, and to just inspire you, because 2024 is coming up, and why not start it off, you know, living paycheck to paycheck to the abundance mindset, which we'll talk about this evening. Now, another one of my books is called Tagline. It's on travel, of course, how to travel on a shoestring budget, but this is about podcasting. This is for anyone, any entrepreneur, any business owner. This is tips how to do podcasting like I'm doing to promote your product, to get the word out, to make you a expert in your field, you know, and it just helps get the word out about you and your product or your services. Now, this one here is Traveling with Dementia, Navigating the World. As you know, Lady Lexi has dementia, and she travels frequently with me. This is to help people with Alzheimer's, dementia, those stages, to travel, that you and your loved ones can travel. You can. It takes some patience, some flexibility, and, you know, just to consider them. Think about them and their needs. What would they need, you know, to make them comfortable? And like I say, Lady Lexi flies to friendly skies. She does road trips. We take cruises, you know. So we do things. It's not always easy. I'm not going to lie and say, oh, yeah, it's a breeze. It's not. There's times when I just want to pull my hair out and scream and, you know, just take her and just, ah. But you know what? I have to calm down and think. This is confusing for her. This is upsetting for her. She's not showing off. This is just not comfortable to her. She doesn't recognize things. It could be the smell. It could be the noise. It could be just she's not feeling that great, and I don't know it. She don't know how to express it. Usually she needs something to eat. Needs to go to the restroom. Or again, she's just not feeling well. And these are the things you have to learn by observing your loved ones, paying them some attention, and recognizing their mannerisms. You can kind of tell from that. So again, welcome to Gallivanting Like a Royal, where we discuss travel and inspiration and living a royal lifestyle. And living a royal lifestyle can mean many different things to many different people. It's your perception of what a royal lifestyle is. Same thing about success. Success for one person may not be success for the other person. Again, abundance. Abundance might not be the same thing for me as it is for you. So that's how come we give you tips, and you can use them however you want. You know, and sometimes it's great just to have a refresher in all of this.